Smallpox is one of the most infamous viral diseases in human history. It is known for causing highly lethal infections and ravaged society up through the 20th century.
Smallpox is caused by the variola virus. This virus is enveloped and contains double-stranded DNA and is normally around 360 by 270 by 250 nanometers. In most cases, it has two envelopes. The outer one is present only in the extracellular state, while the core membrane has complex symmetry. The core contains a large amount of double-stranded DNA and 10 enzymes to regulate gene expression.
Humans are the only host of variola virus. The most common mode of transmission is through direct inhalation of saliva during face-to-face contact with an infected individual. It can also be spread through contaminated clothing or linens, through airborne aerosols, and by direct contact with pustules or crusted scabs.
Once someone becomes infected with smallpox, they develop a rash and distinctive pustules, which eventually scab and leave pitted scars. Death can occur as a result of bone infection and bacterial infection due to raw pustules. Additionally, the disease can lead to cardiovascular collapse and intravascular coagulation. Smallpox has a predictable progression. First, prodrome is the initial phase and lasts for 2 to 4 days. First symptoms appear including malaise, head and body aches, fever ranging from 101 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and vomiting. Additionally, patients may become contagious during this phase.
In the next phase, patients are most contagious. Small sores initially appear on the tongue and in the mouth, breaking down and spreading the virus throughout the mouth and throat. Early rash then appears, first on the face, followed by the arms and legs, and finally followed by hands and feet. The rash spreads throughout the body within 24 hours, by which time the fever falls. By the third day, the rash turns into bumps, which fill with thick, opaque fluid. The fever rises again and will remain high until scabs form.
A pustular rash follows and lasts for 5 days. During this time, patients are contagious and are covered in raised, firm pustules.
After this stage, patients remain contagious, and pustules begin to crust over and scab. Finally, pustules begin to resolve. This stage generally lasts for 6 days, during which time patients remain contagious. Scabs fall off, leaving pitted marks on the skin. Once all the scabs fall off, the patient is no longer contagious.
Our immune system responds to smallpox with both the cell-mediated response and humoral response. In the cell-mediated response, T cells respond to cells with aberrant MHC markers and destroy them. In humoral response, B cells recognize pathogens that are circulating in the blood or lymph and release antibodies.
Smallpox was a major issue even before 900 AD. With the journey to the New World came the exposure of smallpox to the Native Americans, many of whom died because no immunity had been developed. It became an epidemic throughout Europe during the 17th century. During the 18th century, the mortality rate was 30 to 35%, while the morbidity rate was approximately 25%. The World Health Organization estimated that in 1969, 2.5 million people around the world contracted smallpox annually.
There is no known treatment for smallpox. Some drugs that help get rid of viruses today might have some effect on the smallpox virus, but they haven't been tested. There's a vaccine that can prevent infection if given before contact with a virus. Even if someone comes into contact with a virus, a vaccine is still available and effective if given within 4 days of exposure. There is a vaccine created in 1798 by Edward Jenner, who developed the vaccine after observing immunity in individuals exposed to cowpox. This was the first successful vaccine created.
Now, smallpox has been declared eradicated and the vaccine is normally not given. Some people are afraid that the smallpox virus will be used as a weapon by terrorists. People were especially fearful of this in the late 90s. Because of this, vaccines are still being made, even though the disease was declared eradicated in 1972. There are also threats that certain governments will release this disease, but it has never been confirmed.
If you're messing around with the CDC or a time machine, don't be a dingus and get a smallpox vaccine.